welcome to today's video. We're so glad you're joining in here with us to watch today. If you would, before we start, go ahead and drop your name down in the comments like we always do. Tell us where you're from, where you're tuning in from. We like to say hello and welcome you, so be sure to do that. Also, if you tag 3 friends, we're going to be giving away one of these products today that I'll be using on this project. So let me get started. I'm really excited about this project today because it's one of my favorite projects to do and create. And I do this all the time on many different sizes and many different shapes. So we are going to be creating some artisan plaques. And these are just pieces of artwork that you get to create to use on the wall. You can prop them up on a shelf and you can use them anywhere in your home. Anywhere from your living room to your bathroom, anywhere that you feel like you need a little bit of detail and art, they work beautifully. So to take all the worry and concern out of it, we're going to be using a transfer. They're kind of like large stickers. It's a floral transfer we'll be using today, and they're beautiful. And I'm going to show you how to age them to make them look like an old world painting that may have been around for 100 years. So I think the challenge with these really pretty transfers that we see is that they look very new and they look very sticker-like. They look like a large sticker. So I'm going to show you how to put those on a wood panel and use some techniques that are going to help age that and antique that to where it looks like it looks as if it's an old world piece of art that we all desire to put into our collection. So let me get started. You can use any shape and size that you like. I have 3 panels here I'll be using, and they're round, but you can use squares, you can use ovals, whatever you so desire. So I am going to get started here so I can show you how. Okay guys, so here we are, and I'm just going to show you a few of the products. I've got my glazed over, my cracked patina, some one-step paint, just a few simple products here along with my transfer. And the first thing you're going to want to do is to get your panels painted evenly with a coat of one-step, a couple of coats of one-step. Now these are raw wood panels. You may want to use masonite. You can buy masonite at the home improvement store and they can cut it down for you. You can use, you can choose whatever shape you'd want. These are perfectly round. You can get oval. You can go to the hobby store and you can find masonite boards and artisan boards already cut. So you'll find oval shapes, round shapes. This was a package that had 3 staggered sizes, and so I'm just painting all 3 with here I'm starting with Bauhaus buff, but I ended up changing my one-step because as you start to paint these, you start to think about, or you should start to think about, the colors and how you want these colors to go together. What colors do go together? Which colors look best and complement each other best? And this Bauhaus buff is a little bit more white than I wanted, so I switched to one-step linen, which is probably one of my top favorite colors. As you can see, the colors changing here, but I put my transfer up to that Bauhaus buff and I didn't want it to be quite so stark. Also, I was thinking about my glaze, and I knew that my glaze would be better complemented with a little bit more of a cream tone. So you want to use your misting bottle when you are laying down your very even coat of one-step. If you haven't watched my video on how to do the perfect painted piece with your mister bottle, you can go back and watch that. But you got your panels painted, and then we're going to cut up this transfer. Now, if you have not used a rub-on transfer ever before, they come on one large sheet and they are all printed out, broken up. So you won't use these images as they are on the sheet. You'll want to go in and cut out the individual pieces that you will piece together on your own. So I'm just doing that here, which I'll do when I get my rub-on transfer sheets, and I just place like items together for a future use. Now I decided to just use the pink roses here on these 2 panels. And again, I opted to do 2 panels instead of all 3. So this is where you get to arrange them and see what they'll look like before you put them down. You can even cut your transfers apart. Even pieces that are together, you can shorten the stems on items. You can cut leaves off if they don't fit. This is a wonderful, part of being able to do these artisan plaques as you so choose. You get to create them yourself. And this is really fun. This is why I do so many of these. It's also good practice for if you're going to be using them on, let's say, a furniture piece or something like that. You get to practice to see placement and how these things work. So if you haven't used a rub-on transfer, what I'm doing here is they come on this film. It's a piece of plastic, and they are just plastic, very thin plastic, almost tissue paper type images. And you take this stick that comes in with your transfer, and you're just rubbing, you're pressing down on top of that shiny sheet. So you take off the paper off of the back, and you lay down the clear piece, and then you just rub. It's very simple, almost foolproof. You really can't mess it up. And even if you do, and it doesn't all come off, you can lay it back down and you can gently rub in whatever image did not transfer on. But you're just going to transfer that image right onto your panel. Now, you can, again, play with these images. You can move them around. As you're moving them around, just make sure you leave your paper on the back. If you lay them down, they could stick to the panel before you actually press, but you're just pressing down here. As you can see, I'm pressing down with that wooden stick that came in the package. I cut that leaf off of that flower, as you can see there, because it didn't fit. But if you do have a box type panel, like I have an edge here to these panels, you can have those images run off the side. And that looks neat as well. And there are many things you can add to these panels. You might want to, if you have a square one, you can put them in a frame. You might have a really pretty ornate frame. And here I am going in and just laying in pieces that I had cut off other areas. So there's a little bud that I'm adding in. You just lay it down and press onto that clear film, and that plastic image will release. It'll release from the back of that clear film, and it will come right onto your piece. Now here I am adding, the smaller the image is, this is some script that I'm going to rub on here. You just need to go a little bit slower. The flowers come off very easily. When you're doing this little fine, tiny script, you just want to go a little bit slower. There I am adding in just a little stem on that rose. And you need to pull that, as you'll see here, you pull up one end. You might take a little pair of scissors and you pull up. As you can see, you don't pull it all the way off. You just gently lift those pieces as you go. And then when you get it all on, just make sure all your edges are rubbed down. You can burnish it with your fingers. You don't want to scrape it, but make sure that all of your image transfers down. There's no edges popping up. And now I'm going to make my glaze and do my cracked patina. So over your rub-on transfer, you're going to paint your cracked patina. And you want a wide brush. Should you use a sponge brush, that would probably be okay. You just want to make sure your size is big enough, because you're only going to go over this in big brush strokes. So, and try not to go over your area too many times. You just want to make sure that there's no pooling. And you will notice that this cracked patina will bead up. It'll create little beads. It will resist that transfer. That's okay. You want to leave some of those bead marks for texture. But because it's a plastic film, the transfer is, it will bead up. Your cracked patina will bead up. But again, This is a glue, has a glue type element to it. So as you're brushing this on, remember it's sticky. It has a glue, a gooey type texture. So when you're putting on this cracked patina, you don't want to go over the same area too many times. But do check for pooling, and those areas you want to make as even as possible. You can hold it up to the light and you can see how shiny it is. So you'll see the areas you missed. You don't want any areas missed. And you're just going to lay down a very even coat of cracked patina and you're going to let that dry. Now when your cracked patina dries, it's very shiny. It's like glue. It has a sheen to it. And then here I am, my cracked patina is all dry. It's very shiny, my surface is here. And it is beaded up on the transfer, the flowers there. So I'm grabbing some baby wipes for my hands and some dry paper towels as well. You'll want to keep your hands clean and dry here. So I mixed some glazed over and I put some of my favorite gel stain color in, which is English Walnut, in just a few drops, and I made a very tinted glaze. Now, here's the big secret. You only want to go in single brush strokes across the entire thing. Because the minute that you lay on your first stroke of your glaze over that cracked patina, it's immediately going to start cracking. And if you go over the same stroke mark, it will pull that off and it will make a mess. So you do not want to go over. Just do one stroke all the way across until your glaze is laid down. And as it starts to dry, it's going to crack, as you can see there, which I hope you can see on the camera there. So, and as you can see, my fingerprints are showing up more. So that means it's not dry enough really for me to be pulling it away. But your hands are going to be used as a negative tool here. And you're going to be pulling away product just as if like when we paint it on. And it's just as important to be able to use negative tools to create art as it is to application. So what I'm doing here is I'm pulling away this gel stain glaze and I'm pulling it over and making it, you know, look as if it is aged and worn away. And this is completely up to you, how much you want to leave on and how much you would like to leave on the panel or remove. And one thing you don't want is you don't want to see your fingerprints. And I will say that instead of using one-step paint over the cracked patina, which usually dries very quickly, this glaze is thinner, and so it takes a little bit longer to dry. Not much longer, but it will still dry quickly, but you're still going to have, you have a little bit more play time here than you normally would with one-step paint. Cracked patina is usually sandwiched in between two one-step paints, but it can be used with glaze. Glaze can go over top of your cracked patina, and it makes a beautiful, sheer, cracked, old world look. So also, I used gel stain here, but you can also use one step in your glaze. And you can use that glaze in another color to go over your floral transfers here and your panel. I would just say make sure that you use colors that are not too heavy in contrast. So as you can see here, I'm wiping my hands of the gel glaze that I'm pulling away. And then you want to dry it with a paper towel, because if they're wet, they're not going to pull. You want a dry hand to stick to that gel, that glaze, so it'll pull away. And you will see the texture of the beaded up cracked patina over those floral transfers, which makes a really beautiful texture, almost as if it's a canvas. So again, one big stroke across the entire thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to start cracking right away. So, you're going to be pulling a lot of that away, or what you feel you need to pull away. And then you can take a small piece of cardboard and fan that, and it will start to crack. And it looks as if it's an old, old painting that needs to be restored. I don't know if you have ever seen where they'll take an old, hundreds of year old painting that has the finish has yellowed and cracked and dried, and they want to preserve that. So you have these restoration professionals that go in and they, very, very painstakingly go in and take away that old varnish, and they put a new glaze over it to preserve these old world paintings. But here we want to actually leave that on there and make it look as old as possible. But yes, you can use one step in your glaze. So if I was using one step, I would probably do a very pale gray like Luxe Gray, or I would use a Bauhaus Buff to go over that linen one step that I used on my base panel. And that would give it a very ethereal look. It would be very, very soft and pretty. And you can still do that too. You can add many more layers here after you put on your glaze. I could go in here and then I could add some cerusing wax around the edges, and it's going to soften that walnut gel stain glaze. But the possibilities are really endless here with how much you want to add to it. You can add dust of ages. You can add a little bit of light antiquing wax and then add in some dust of ages in some areas if you wanted it to look dusty and even more old. But this is the fun of these artisan plaques. They are completely enjoyable to play with and try product on. Also, you can see how this would do on a piece of furniture. A lot of artists will use these rub-on transfers on their pieces of furniture, and they don't have to stop with once they've rubbed that on. You can then do a treatment over that floral rub-on transfer. But here I'm just rubbing away, and it's up to you how much you want to leave on. And I used some, I left some negative space there where it looks as if it's cracked off, and you can rub that off of your transfer. I know you can't see it here very well, but I used them on smaller panels there I showed you. But you can, as I said, you can add more items here. I am going in and adding just some tiny little areas, not a lot. I mean, very, very minimal little veins of gold leaf. And you can add a lot of it. You can do your whole edge if you have a boxed edge to your panel. You could do the entire edge. That would be pretty. If you have a square panel, you can put it in a frame. You could use put some mica powder, some gold mica powder in some Mind Your Own Beeswax, and brush that over the entire surface and give it a really pretty sheen. There's so many things you could do, but when you're all finished, this is what they look like up on your shelf. And I just have them artfully displayed here with some other items. You can hang them on your wall, but you'll be able to see the detailed, antiqued, aged look. And they're just a wonderful addition to any part of your home. Thanks for watching today, guys. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will get back to them. Thank you.